So back to the issue of the election. It's close. Everybody agrees it's close. Fox News and Real Clear Politics and one of the headlines on Fox today showing that the electoral map and the polls have been scrambled in the final days of what's going on here. And I guess, quite frankly, I'm not sure how now New Mexico is a blue state, but I don't know how any state that's a border state is not in the Donald Trump column. Marc Krikorian is our guest from the Center for Immigration Studies. Marc, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
What a crazy political season we're in since you and I last talked.
Well, I mean, no question about that. I'm not even sure what to say about it that everybody hasn't already said. But in a sense, the reason ironically, immigration is one of the reasons we're in this pickle, because it along with other issues, but it's one of the key issues that people latched onto that shows this gap between ordinary folks and the political and business and media elites. And that basically us against them, people at the top against everybody else dynamic, is what's not only driving this chaotic election, but it was a similar thing in England with Brexit. You're going to see it in France with their presidential election next year, and they all turn out different ways. They all have some specific issues that are different, but at the core of almost all of these is immigration policy.
Yeah, certainly the Brexit vote hinged on sovereignty and the ability to control borders. And I saw that Nigel Farage, he was actually here on the floor of the spin room after the debate in St. Louis and got an opportunity to get a mic in front of him for a couple of moments. And, of course, he believes Trump's going to have the same kind of success that Brexit had over when they had their vote in England. What I wanted to mention to you is maybe I've missed it, but, I'm involved in this news cycle every day, and I'm doing research and I'm doing background stuff. Quite frankly, immigration, the debate over the wall or the need to limit immigration has not maintained the level of attention that I thought it would the last month or month and a half. Now, obviously, it's been overshadowed by some bigger events like the emails and things like that. But even in his daily speeches now, Donald Trump's not referring to immigration very much.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's part of it, I think, really is that there's so many ducks to shoot at, as it were, on this issue. And, he's given, his Phoenix speech, whenever that was, several weeks ago on immigration, really did, I think, do a good job of laying out in black and white what he intended to do. And I think, I don't know, but my guess is the campaign people figure, well, look, we've got those voters. Let's talk about other stuff, because we have to get, other voters for whom it's not a top shelf issue.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating there, but that would make sense to me.
Yeah. Discouraging to me, though, that we haven't heard more about it. But you guys at the Center for Immigration Studies have just come out with a new report for November about the immigration surge. What can you tell me about that?
Well, part of the narrative of the people pushing for amnesty and looser enforcement has been, look, this isn't such a big deal. Illegal immigration is going away. Legal immigration isn't even all that high anymore. What's the fuss? The only reason you could still be against these things is because you're a bigot and a racist and yada, yada, yada. Well, the fact is that immigration was down after the recession. In fact, even a little bit before that, because of Bush reluctantly at the end of his administration started enforcing the law, and some people started leaving. And then, of course, the recession kicked in, supercharged that. But what we've seen is that immigration is now going back up quite dramatically. The total immigration, this is the total arrival of people from abroad to live here, legal and illegal put together, was 1.5 million in 2014, which is the most recent census data we have on this. And that's way up from 2011, just 3 years before. It's 38% higher.
Wow.
More than a third higher. So, and the one part of this story that the other people, that the pro-amnesty people tell that is true, is that Mexican immigration really has slowed down. It's up from what it was a few years ago, but it's still much lower than it was like 10 years ago. then part of the reason is there's just not that many people left in Mexico. People in the countryside, men of working age, they're all left. They've either come here or they've moved to their own cities, and so there's just not that many potential migrants left. But the bad news, of course, is that there's 7 billion people in the world who aren't from Mexico, and most of them are poorer than the average Mexican. And so what we're seeing in the numbers in this report we just posted on CIS.org is that immigrants from elsewhere in Latin America, as well as from Asia and from the Middle East and Africa, are more than making up for that slowdown in Mexican immigration. So in other words, the Mexican immigration has slowed down, but we have even more immigration from Asia and Central America and Cuba and the Middle East and all the rest of it to make up for that.
Well, the critics, when you start talking about either a wall or better ability to filter people before they come into the country, they immediately jump on the fact that somehow you're racist or you're against immigrants, which in my eyes, that's not the issue at all. We have to have some control over who's coming in and who's staying. Right now, we don't have any of that in this country. I mean, it strikes me the whole thing's just fallen apart, primarily intentionally because the administration has tied the hands of the people at ICE.
Yeah, I mean, and it really is intentional. I mean, at the border, for instance, the physical border with Mexico, our infrastructure there is actually better than it used to be. We really have spent some money on fencing, better fencing, technology, cameras. We have more agents than we used to have. All of that stuff wasn't wasted. I mean, under Clinton and under Bush, we made a lot of investment in that stuff. The problem is those guys aren't allowed to do their jobs. I testified at a Senate hearing, and one of the people testifying with me was the head of the Border Patrol Agents Union. And because he's a union guy, they can't fire him no matter what he says. He's protected, basically.
Right.
And so he can basically be a whistleblower without losing his job. And what he said is that 80% of the people that the Border Patrol catches, they have to let go into the United States with some kind of piece of paper saying, please come back on such and such a date. You think they ever do?
Yeah.
Obviously not. So the problem, again, at the border is not, and I'm actually not all that wild about the idea of building, a wall. I mean, we've got pretty good fencing. We need some more in some places. We need better in some places. But what we need is for the guys who are there to be able to use the tools that are already there.
Yeah, I would agree. I was just looking at one of the charts that you have in this report that talks about immigrant population in the United States by country and region. And it covers a 25-year period from 1990 to 2015. And far and away, though, people from Mexico represent the largest block of people that have come into this country in that period of time, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no question about that. It's just that what you saw is a huge increase in Mexican immigration. I mean, in 1970, there were like 700,000, 750,000 Mexican immigrants in the entire United States. That's it. Now there's, close to 12 million. So what we saw with Mexico was a wholesale movement of their rural population into the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that movement off the land was going to happen. All of that was going to happen anyway. That's what happens when countries develop. We saw it here. People moved, farmers, they moved to the city and they got a factory job.
Right.
Back, 75, 100 years ago. The problem is because our enforcement at the border was so weak, a huge share of those people got jobs in our cities instead of in their own cities. What we're seeing, though, is that it seems like there's not that many people left in Mexico who want to move. There's some.
Some,
you're
like
right. It's over. It's
right.
just not as big a deal. And so we need to get away from thinking just about the Mexican border. Because what we're seeing now in just illegal immigration, for instance, most immigration is legal, but in illegal immigration, we're now seeing most new illegals, about 1,000 illegals a day, settle in the United States. Most of them are now visa overstayers, people who come in legally, they're going to
And then just
visit a
don't leave.
relative, whatever,
Yeah.
and then they just never leave. And we have absolutely no way of making sure they do that.
That's
That
amazing.
they do leave.
That's amazing. Marc Krikorian, Center for Immigration Studies. I would encourage people to go to the website cis.org and educate yourself on this report and many others. Marc, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a great day. I appreciate that. Yeah. You can go into your calendar right now on your phone and set a reminder for 3 years from now on a Saturday in September to remind you of something. But our immigration people can't determine when somebody's overstayed a visa. It's ludicrous. It is absolutely ludicrous. And very